Welcome to yet another episode, 137 it is, of the Hello Irlandia show. Tonight we are streaming a special Irish edition of a free-floating conversation. I'm Katarzyna Czekaj, I'm your host, and I will introduce in a moment our goals. But just before that, let me ask you to help us by following and subscribing to our social media. Try to share our content. Please support true independent media. Support freedom of speech and freedom of thought. Support Hello Irlandia. That would be really a great help for us on buymecoffee.com. You know the drill. Of course, before I get into the conversation with our fantastic guest today, I would like to promote a fantastic event. It is a Dublin Christmas market and party where you can shop, eat, drink, and celebrate, of course, during that fantastic festive season that is upon us. It's gonna happen on the 14th of December in Trinity Bar venue. That venue will transform into a winter wonderland filled with festive cheers, where from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. you can discover unique handcrafted gifts, delicious food, and of course, vibrant community spirit. You can see the stalls with handcrafted goods and products from the local creators and vendors. And of course, there will be some fantastic food and drinks, warm up with mulled wine, enjoy aromatic, gingerbread, and so on and so forth. Also, this is an occasion for consultation, networking, meeting fantastic people, inspiring people, and of course, gaining valuable insights. So please join us. Again, it's the 14th of December. From 2 to 6 p.m. And after that event, there will be an after party at 3 p.m. So join us for only a $5. Of course, music, drinks, food, really fantastic occasion to cheer yourself up. The Christmas market is free. The party is just a $5. So please join us. Dublin Christmas market and party. You will find out on our social media all the details. And now I would like to welcome our fantastic guest, David Cullen. He's best known for his channel, highly recommended, the David Cullen Show, and recently, he's also an author of a science fiction novel, Deus Machina, Deus versus Machina, which is now available on Amazon in the bookstores as well, but you can get it as well as the audiobook in the paperback form. So, whichever you like to consume the books best and most comfortably, it's available for you. Welcome, David, to our show.
Thank you, Kasia. Thanks for having me back on. And in fact, as of last night, the book has become an Amazon bestseller in one particular religious category. So it's done well. So that's a nice accolade already.
Wow, that's fantastic news. So here's the very recognizable, I think, cover. So you guys can't miss it. But before we talk about book itself, I would like to discuss with you, based on actually your channel and what you're doing over there, the state of modern entertainment, because I think that's quite the interesting subject, and I guess it overcomes now a certain maybe changes on the wave of the recent elections in America. I think a lot of things might change also in that kind of section of nowadays, I don't know, art and entertainment in general. But over the past 10 years, we've witnessed an increase of diversity, identity politics, being inserted into Hollywood, right? And pop culture in general, be it films or television shows, it's everywhere. And that phenomenon is often referred as woke or wokeism, people call it this or that, but generally we talk about kind of the woke culture. And as a parent, I can say that I'm quite concerned as well about the content and material that my kids might be, consuming. Of course, I'm quite, controlling, and they don't really have access in general to the harmful content, but even in, cartoons and things like that, you can find the traces and elements of that. So it's unavoidable. And I think that content regarding, race, sexuality, gender might be very harmful for kids. So in your recent work, you've discussed how you believe this might be coming to an end. Why do you think it is? Is it indeed connected with the recent elections and the results of the presidential elections in America, or is it any other aspect that gives you that confidence that that culture is at the end, kind of, and we will be slowly farewelling
Yeah, well,
this phenomenon?
yeah, it's been unpopular for a long time. I mean, we used to refer to this, I guess, as political correctness, right? And that was just sort of proto woke. And then as I guess woke really kicked off in earnest maybe around 2015 or so. So we've had almost coming up on 10 years of this. And it started out more so with the feminism. So you used to see like Rey in Star Wars, or you had like Captain Marvel or something. And there were these sort of what they call Mary Sues, these perfect female characters, who were, they would be great if it wasn't for the fact that some institution or individual who was basically a metaphor for the patriarchy was holding them back in some way. And it made for deeply unsatisfying stories that both men and women couldn't relate to, because these characters were already fully formed and perfect. They didn't actually have to learn anything or go through any progress or any personal development and growth that makes a character believable and relatable. And these stories are important because culture is important, and politics is, as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. So although these movies and entertainment may seem all very silly and everything, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves matter. Culture matters, including pop culture. It's not like ancient culture. It's not our mythology or whatever, but it is actually modern culture, and it forms how people think about things today and how they perceive the world, or the ideas that they have. So it does matter. And these characters were just unsatisfying to people. They were effectively, for young girls, they were supposed to be these strong female characters, but in fact what they actually were male characters with female actors playing the roles. So it was actually a disservice to masculinize women and destroy the feminine, right? Because the feminine grace and power and beauty, these are actually devastatingly powerful and overwhelming energies, basically, that men have fought wars over. So they inspire men, right?
Yes,
And so and as well, and the men, by contrast, were also becoming increasingly, the male characters are becoming increasingly feminized and marginalized, and no longer being the kind of traditional archetypal heroes that young boys want to aspire to be like, that men can want to relate to, or live vicariously through, and that women want to be with. So as a result of that, it is actually a form of social engineering, and it is intrusive, it is unwanted, and as a result of that, it's actually unnatural, and it doesn't feel intuitive to people. People weren't resonating with these stories, and that started to become and then you just add in all of the other aspects of woke, so around gender and then race and everything, and so less of the straight white male characters, all that sort of stuff that they started to do. And what a very peculiar phenomenon was that when people would raise concerns or criticize the fact that a popular entertainment franchise was going this route and was now sort of I guess, marginalizing its legacy fan base, which would have been, predominantly men of a certain age. There was actually a kickback from some of the filmmakers, writers, producers, directors who would, start saying that people are racist or sexist or bigots or whatever, or trolls and all this sort of stuff. So whatever happened to the customer is always right. You make these shows, you make these films for an audience base. You have an audience base. Once you've established that, you just keep giving them the same product and you make money. It's pretty simple. But instead, they wanted to sort of mess with this formula, which has worked since time immemorial. And they didn't seem to care so much about money. When we learned what was happening was that investment organizations like BlackRock and others were starting to fund Hollywood with all of this DEI stuff, which we see all over the place, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's where the financing and the ideology was really coming from. And so many of these studios are, already making huge losses. So to take this, what we call DEI money, that seemed like a pretty easy way to go. It helps to bolster, that your I guess, paper over the cracks, I guess, of the financial losses that you're making at the box office. But the problem is that it's at a certain point, money isn't enough. Reputation does matter, and people were not happy with where things are going. And eventually, the rubber meets the road. Even financially, these losses do add up. And we've had a few big box office failures over the last couple of years from popular franchises that previously would never have such failures. And we've had a few high profile TV shows now from the likes of Disney, I guess, who've had some cancellations there. So this has all been coming a while. I think, not to get too political with it, I think even the re-election of Donald Trump, whatever your people's thoughts may be on him, and I don't necessarily think he's going to be the panacea that some of his supporters think that he's going to be. But it's not about what he will do or won't do. It's really more so about what his re-election represents for a certain disenfranchised percentage of the American electorate, which is that he just represents just saying no to what the Democrats are all about, which is woke. Donald Trump is famous for saying that everything that becomes woke turns to shite, basically. So just put the E in the end. It makes it okay, I think, for YouTube. So I think that's the long and short of it. And so the financial failures have been coming a long time, and also woke has become uncool with a lot of young people. And when that starts to happen and it's no longer trendy, then it's probably time to change. So we're seeing a little bit less of it, and we're seeing films that are, it's not going to completely go away. Like it's still going to be there. And unfortunately, sad to say, there is a generation of young people who are probably entering adulthood now, and for them, it's always been there. Like they don't know of a world in any other way. So so when we try and speak to values matter first, meritocracy matters first, they go, what? But these are crazy ideas to them. To them, it's like, no, what matters is race and gender and representation and all this sort of stuff. And so they're like, it actually woke effectively is just cultural Marxism, just wrapped up in a slightly different packaging. But regardless, I think we're going to see a lot less of it in the coming years, and so we're already starting to see it go away. But there are still a lot of people who believe in the ideology. So we're fighting more than just some sort of economic, social, cultural system. It is a value system of some people, unfortunately, and maybe in time they'll grow out of that.
Yeah. So what I understand is, from what you've said so far, that there may be two aspects to that the people potentially, would you say, are just tired of this woke ideology because it just doesn't ring true, and they simply voted their dollar. So essentially all those projects that were pushing that ideology just failed because people don't go to the cinema, don't watch it, reject it on all sorts of kind of streaming platforms, not only identifying with the heroes and so forth and so on. And also there were some other let's say, cultural aspects like certain endeavors, let's say the iconic now Budweiser, now recently, I think, what was it, Jaguar, yeah, making adverts that completely, disconnected with what it was for people, those particular products, and what they would associate them with and how they understood it, how they consumed it and stuff like that. So just people literally said, no, we're not buying that. And then the economics kind of comes in, right? Like if you don't make money of it, like how long can you fund those kind of things? They just don't bring money. But the other thing is that maybe the political change in the recent elections in America might be also a signal of that change, yeah, and also maybe something that enhances it at the same time. What do you think? Would that be kind of
Well, yeah, I mean, we are definitely headed for, I think people have said this for a while now, there's probably going to be some economic catastrophe or something before too
yeah.
long. Although I suspect America, unless something drastic happens, America is actually well positioned to avoid the worst of it now.
Yeah.
But, for example, if a lot of the multinationals and American companies in Europe go back to America, as we think might happen, that'll be great for America, potentially, but not so good for Europe. And I think woke is really it's actually, it's funny, at the end of all empires, they seem to they fall into decadence,
Yeah.
and they start entertaining these very decadent ideas.
Yeah, wild ideas, yeah.
They start to navel gaze, so it feels like the end of the Roman Empire. It's so often now almost tired to actually sit to compare the Western world to that again. But when the comfort goes away, people just don't have time for that anymore.
Exactly, for silly stuff, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the other question is, there's another aspect as well to the entertainment landscape and its future. How do you see it? Also, the mainstream entertainment, the kind of more independent, alter kind of environment for creating entertainment, all sorts of, streaming podcasts and stuff like that. How do you see in general the landscape of entertainment in the wake of AI generated content? Because we see more and more of it, and it's getting better and better. Some of it is not fantastic, but I think there's more and more that is actually quite good, and in a way leaves an opportunity to kind of make content maybe more available, quicker to produce, but also it's very easy to kind of, mislead people, right? Because that's something that you can manipulate the reality with. You can put the words into somebody's mouth and stuff like that. So how do you see, that future aspect of entertainment, with AI, really encroaching everywhere?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two questions there. There's the first one of the dangers of AI being abused to make it look like someone has said or done something that they
Yeah,
haven't. So
exactly.
that's a terrifying prospect, and I don't have a short answer for that. They claim that they'll be able to use AI, ironically enough, AI systems to detect AI, but like I've got to trust the coding of that AI
Yeah,
program that does the detecting. So why
yeah,
why would I do that if
yeah.
if somebody could program a bias or be, I'm not a coder. So, but the point is, with regard to AI, there's actually an important point to say, which is that purely AI generated content, which is to say, if you go to some AI, whether it's, let's say, ChatGPT or one of the others, and you tell it, just write me a story based on, you just put in a simple prompt, you tell it to write something, that content actually is technically public domain. It can't be copyrighted if it's purely AI generated. The same goes for AI art. The same will go for AI video. So in some respects, that's actually a good thing. It means that human beings, human generated artwork of writing, films, and so forth, and artwork, all that stuff will keep people in business. AI assisted content is an entirely different thing. AI assisted content can be copyrighted. AI generated cannot be copyrighted. So what I see to address your question is that AI is going to close the gap significantly if used in the AI generated capacity for independent filmmakers to make content and films and so forth that are almost as good, if not better, than Hollywood. In fact, I've seen such a huge decline in the quality of visual effects in Hollywood over the last few years. In CGI, for example, it's not as good as it was even 10 years ago, and further back. So
why is that?
Well, they've been churning out so much content, and there is a lot of these production houses that do the visual effects we're having to work on so many projects at once. And the filmmakers have also become, I think, a little bit over reliant on the technology. So they've been doing a lot less. This is particularly true of something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where they just seem to they film their movies in such a way that they're using too much green screen, and they're using far too much reliance on for simple things when they're filming. They should be filming them practically. They're filming them in the studio, and they're doing this because if they want to make changes afterwards, they have the flexibility to do that. But as a result, it drives the production cost up so much, and then the schedules in order to make the release date. The visual effects artists are having to work overtime and everything else, and they're having to rush a lot of their work schedule. So the quality, again, it just comes down to just the amount of visual effects versus the quality of it. So it has declined. Now with AI, I think that there's an opportunity there for independent filmmakers to make really impressive productions in a way that wouldn't have been possible on small budgets. So that's actually, I think I see that as a huge benefit going forward. And AI is probably going to slowly destroy Hollywood because there just won't be a need for all of these people anymore.
Huge studios and such. Have you seen already some kind of first signs? Some productions, independent or something like that, that would already be using that tool extensively.
Well, I mean,
just your prediction.
No, I mean, I've seen so many examples of people using deep fake technology, using the visual effects for artwork purposes in independent films, in short films, and you can see just how that could scale in the coming years. All it takes is for someone to have a relatively small budget and a dedicated team, and they could produce something very, very high quality. And, it's probably high time that something like this happened because the budgets in Hollywood in the United States, they're so off the scale, and you're kind of wondering, like, why is it costing now the better part of 250 to 300, in some cases almost $500 million to produce the next Captain America movie? Like, where is this money actually going? It's just it's totally nonsense. And so long term, I think that we're going to see a far better, much less financial wastage, and productions being made much more economically. But in regards to independent filmmaking and independent entertainment in general, because it's not just about filmmaking itself, we have to. That's the reason why I started writing a book, and that's why the reason I encourage people to tell their own stories, because if you're not happy with where entertainment is and people still want to contribute to culture, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the reason why I said, okay, I have this series on my channel where I highlight indie filmmakers and authors, and I thought maybe it's time I put my money where my mouth is. I'm a critic myself. I'm a bit nervous now, in fairness, because obviously I've made some enemies over the years. So there's plenty of people who would love to knock me down a peg or two on my first novel, but that's going to happen. That's part and parcel of the whole game, right? But I said, it's probably high time that I try to tell a story myself. If I'm going to criticize other films for having crappy stories or whatever, well, I better maybe I'll show what I think how a story should be told. I don't know.
Okay, so that leads us nicely to the new book that you've just published, and you hear from Amazon that it's really going very well. So tell us about that idea, Deus Machina, where the idea come from. What's the book about? Of course, without spoilers, because it's definitely something that people would enjoy. I've already read it, so I know that as little spoilers as possible to enjoy all the twists of the story and second guessing the author. I think it would be very enjoyable. So tell us as much as you can, without spoiling anything.
Well, it's an idea that came to me back in 2019, and I have the original audio recording. This is, so sometimes inspiration strikes you and it comes all at once, and then you can't come up with an idea again if you tried to do that,
Yeah.
And so I recorded my voice, and I basically came up with it's pretty close to how it ended up. It's evolved over the years, but that was 5 years ago. I only started writing it last August. So August 23. So, and it's only just finished. So, it's published. It's there on Amazon in paperback and ebook. I'm working on the audio book, which has been approved for a lot of online platforms. It's going to take a little bit longer for it to arrive on Audible because they have different background checks for the quality for the audio quality. So that has to go through that process. I don't know how long that takes. It takes quite a while because there has to be a human being involved in vetting it. And I might do a hardback as well. And I just took an amazing response actually when I officially announced it yesterday, and quite a few sales. So that's been positive. And so we'll see the reviews come in. I'm obviously nervous about them, but excited in a good way. But it's a story that is a detective mystery with sort of noirish type elements. It is science fiction, but not heavily sci-fi, I would say. Like, you don't have to be a hardcore sci-fi fan to appreciate it. If you like books that are of detective mysteries, that I think you'll appreciate that component of it.
That's the right characterization, I think. Any fan of crime stories, mystery stories will enjoy that book absolutely.
Yeah, so it's based in Las Vegas in 2045, and it tells the story of a detective called Cody Stockton, who, like all the usual detective tropes, he is investigating what appears to be an accidental death, but it turns out to be murder. And what he finds along the way, he becomes sort of embroiled and tangled in a wider conspiracy. Before too long, that unfolds, and this is happening against the backdrop of some pretty big global events. An AI system is going to be activated to manage all of human life and effectively control human life for the alleged betterment of mankind. So there's a lot of protests against this because it'll be a totalitarian system. And while that's happening, a man who claims to be Jesus Christ, some people believe it, some people don't believe it, but he appears in South America, and then he starts popping up all over the world performing miracles. And our character is an atheist, and so he doesn't buy any of this. His girlfriend does, but he doesn't buy any of it. And so there's a collision there between the spiritual and the technological, between doubt and faith, and our character goes on a journey in that respect. And so I'll leave that up to the audience to find out the rest when they buy the novel, hopefully. But there's a little bit of romance, there's a bit of action in there, there's a bit of an adventure, there's certainly some twists and surprises. So maybe you can tell people a bit more, Kasia, because you've read this book apparently.
I read this book, and I must say it's somebody said in one of the reviews on Amazon, and I think it's a very good sum up. unputable. I read it to be prepared for that conversation and
I think
know
it's
what I'm talking about, and I
just
was
to
really
clarify.
very
Just to clarify, unputdownable might have been the word.
unputdownable. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's a page turner, as they say. You can't put it down. I literally was reading it while cooking, while dealing with kids, and I just it took me into the better part of the night, and I finished it at one go. And I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great theme for Christmas. We are coming up to Christmas, so I think it kind of rhymes very well with this subject. It's one of those books that kind of leaves some residue when you read it and you finish it. It's not something that you kind of put it away and forget 5 minutes after. It makes you think, it makes you wonder, it makes you second guess, like while you're reading it, what's gonna happen and how it's gonna end up. So I think it's a really nice experience for that Christmas break that a lot of us will be having at the end of a year, and I really recommend it as something that you can get for someone into the socks, hanging on the chimneys, or the present under the Christmas tree, with whatever your tradition is. I think it's a great gift, very enjoyable, and I really recommend it. I think it's a great debut. And yeah, it talks about things that are very current to our kind of social political changes. So it really kind of fits very well into our world nowadays and all the big questions that we have for the future, because it's really hard to say how it's gonna go, although we hope for the best. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend anybody to get it. Makes a great present.
Well, that's a great. Wow, that I got to quote you there a few times, Kasia. That's a great compliment. I'm glad you liked it. It's a great relief, because you create something and then you put it out into the world, and all you have is your own head. Your own head in the story is the only critic you have, and you're too close to it as a writer to actually know, is this really any good? I've read the book so many times to try to to pick up on spelling and grammar and punctuation when I was proofreading and editing. And you just get nauseous after a while reading the book.
Yeah, of course.
So I can't actually, like, I'm too close to know now. But when other people come with their opinions and their point of views, it gives you a completely different perspective and refreshing take on it. So someone else's mind has now absorbed this content that you've created. So it's a wonderful thing. So I'm thrilled it's turned out the way I wanted it to. And I hope people like it. I think generally they'll have an enjoyable time reading it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the themes of it are very relevant, in the sense that the more technology that comes into our lives, and the power of AI is kind of godlike, and so people are drifting away from the spiritual and the transcendent in favor of things that are just purely material. And is that enough for humanity? Would it be enough, like, technically, if we had a government that was AI and that was just running everything and providing at a purely mechanical level, was just giving us all the things we needed? But would we be happy in that environment? Would we be spiritually fulfilled? Do human beings need more than just food on the table and money in the bank and everything? Is there more to life than that? So it's probably high time that humanity really had these questions asked.
The conversation about it, yes. And I think that there is a lot of podcasts and kind of alternate media discussions about it. A lot of thinkers raising that question, and I'm glad that it also appears in this entertainment section, the literature section, and I think it's a very good way to ask this question in the very kind of light sort of book that doesn't require someone to kind of, plow through some content. It's very, easy to read, it's enjoyable, I think it's a great idea. And it, as I said, asks a lot of nice, important, questions that we should really ponder on. So once again, I highly recommend the book. I read it, so I'm not, advertising something that I don't have any idea about, and I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't, believe in it. So I do recommend it. So get on Amazon or any other. I understand there are other platforms here that you can get other.
Yeah, look, if you search for the title,
yes,
or you search for the title in my name, Deus v Machina, not Deus ex Machina. That's those other books with that name, but Deus v Machina and my name. You'll find it anywhere. I mean, not just on Amazon, but it's gone to all the big ones as well, so you won't have a hard time finding the book.
Yeah, so that concludes, I think, our tonight's show. Thank you very much, Dave, for joining us and for that lovely discussion and presenting your first, book. I understand that there will be new to come, new books, because it's just the first in the series that you have in mind, adventures of your character, and guys, just keep in touch and follow Dave on his social media, on his the David Cullen show. There will be more books to come, hopefully, and I wish you a Merry Christmas. Of course, I wish you a great success with selling this book. And I'm inviting everybody to check it out, make it maybe a present for somebody,
and
that
just
you
on
love.
that note, I'm actually going to be signing physical copies of the book at the Christmas market as well on the 14th.
Oh, yes. So again, the 14th of December, there's that Christmas market that we mentioned at the very beginning of our show. That is, I'm just reminding you, the venue, Trinity Bar venue. It starts at 2:00 in the afternoon. Dave will be there, so there is a chance to get a copy directly from the author with his, autograph. So, everybody check it out, our social media, the information in the description box under that show. You'll get all the details and you can meet the author himself. So thanks very much, Dave.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight.
Deus v Machina is the debut novel from YouTube film critic Dave Cullen, set in Las Vegas in the year 2045. Amidst the sparkling, neon-filled oasis of Sin City, a powerful evil force lies in wait. Private investigator Cody Stockton takes on the most earth-shattering case of his career. What looks like a simple investigation into an accidental death soon turns out to be murder, exposing a shocking cover-up, a deadly satanic cult, and a terrifying global conspiracy. An advanced artificial intelligence with a will of its own and plans for world domination is about to collide with a man claiming to be the Son of God. In a battle between the technological and the spiritual, Stockton's convictions are challenged and his faith is shaken as he races to unravel the truth and save humanity. But in a war that was never meant for mere mortals, can one man really make a difference? Deus v Machina is available now in paperback and ebook formats from the links below. Pick up your copy today.